All right, everybody, we are live. Welcome. We're going to keep this real conversational today, and think of this as a fireside chat, not really a presentation. So, in the ServiceTitan Hacks group, we talk a lot about systems, operations, marketing, also a little bit of complaining about ServiceTitan. Let's be honest, but really, hiring is one of the things that quietly controls everything else. It's always going to be the limit on your business if you can't find the right people in your company. All the automations and AI aren't going to solve that. So, most of you already know the situation. So you need a technician, you post a job, you spend thousands of dollars with either ZipRecruiter or Indeed. You wait, you have some applications come in, but most of them do not meet exactly what you're looking for. And so let's say you get 50 applications come in, one or two of them are ones that you want to reach out to. You reach out to them, they don't respond at all, set up an interview, maybe they don't even show up. And so I think we've all done this. I know I have at my company, just hired a warm body to keep the trucks moving, which I never feel good about it, but I've done it, right? And so quick show of hands in the chat, put a 1 down if that cycle feels familiar to you at all. Just go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. So what I have is Andre Norden, welcome from Trade Runner. It's good to have you here. And before we go through anything on screen, I just kind of wanted to share a little bit more context. So when I was running my HVAC company in Ohio, I learned really fast that waiting for applicants was not a good strategy. So I tried going to trade schools and sat on some advisory boards there, and it was great for getting apprentices, which we needed, but the experienced techs I had a heck of a time getting. And I think that's because the experienced techs that I wanted were out there working for my competitors, and the competitors were doing everything they possibly could to retain those techs. And ethically, I didn't feel like I could just knock on a competitor's door and ask for their best guy or go to the supply house. I always felt kind of a little awkward just talking to techs at supply houses, trying to see if they come work for my company. So what Andre has is he has a platform that him and his co-founder have built that allow you to outbound and reach out to these technicians who are typically not on the market, that you're not going to find them on Indeed. So, Andre, when you look at how most contractors are hiring today, what do you see? Where do you see things breaking down?
Absolutely. Yeah. And thanks, Bill, for having me on. I think I would break that answer out into 3 categories. The first would be that when you post on a job board, which is how, most people, if not everybody's hiring today, it's a very reactive process, right? So you have an open position, you post a job, and now you're waiting a few weeks for the applications to come in. You're already behind on the shot clock, right? And so that's the first thing I would say, is that you're already running behind. You have to wait weeks for applications to come in. It's not proactive, it's reactive. And then number 2, I would say, is the talent universe or the talent pool that you're restricted to. It's limited, right? Because somebody has to be scanning the job board during their free time to submit an application to you, and you're only able to evaluate the applicants that come in, right? And so as you think about it from a contractor perspective, what percent do you think you're missing of folks that just aren't submitting applications? Maybe it's 80%, 90, 95%, right? So the second thing I would call it is you're very constrained from a talent pool perspective, because you can only evaluate what's being sent to you through applications. And then the last thing I think is probably one of the most important is just straight up quality. Like I think we can all relate to, and I used to use Indeed as well, the quality that comes in. You have baristas and DoorDash drivers and Uber Eats people like applying to your technician jobs, right?
Experienced technician jobs. They're just clicking apply.
Right. So like you can set the filters on Indeed. It doesn't do, it doesn't do much. All they have to do is check a box to be able to apply to your job. And so that's the last thing I would call it, is like, there's so much noise that you have to sift through, even if you do get applications to come in, that it's just a mess. So that's kind of that's what we're trying to fix.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what you're saying is these technicians are working in other companies and they're not active on Indeed, but they have their resume on there, right? So, I mean, do you think technicians, like experienced technicians, really post their resumes a lot on Indeed? Is that where they're going and looking for these jobs?
So a lot of them have created an Indeed account at one point or another, or just in general, like a job board, right? Because at one point they were looking for a job. But to your point, best technicians and the top talent, they're busy working 60, 70 hours a week. And so they're not going home for 2-3 hours and submitting applications at night. And that's why they're being missed. And that's why, as a contractor looking for talent, it's a struggle to find the best techs because they're currently working at your competitors or somewhere else across town. And you're never going to get them by just posting a job and hoping they come to you, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. I experienced it, So, gosh,
And one thing I would just add in is that that's really what we're trying to do with Trade Runner, right? And obviously we'll get into, showing the platform in a little bit, but that what we've created is a tool where the contractors can proactively search for qualified talent, meaning we act as a tool that allows you to instantly contact qualified techs that are relevant for your open positions based on a searchable library of talent. And so you're no longer restricted just to applications coming in. And so as a contractor, you can log into the system, you can specify the type of candidate that you're looking for and reach out to them. And what we've actually found is that most candidates, well over 50%, are actually open to new opportunities if you reach out to them proactively. Yeah. But it only works if you can get in touch with them because you're never going to get them from a job board.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you got. Why don't you show us the platform?
Let me screen share here. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Cool. Sweet. So let me know when that comes up. I just hit the screen share.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Well, I'll run through it pretty quick. It's very simple. We've made a big effort to keep this tool as simple and bare bones as possible. So the way it works, and the example I'll be using here is for one of our customers in the Dallas area. And so they're primarily an HVAC shop. And so just to show everybody how it works here, it operates just like a Google search. So you come into this little search bar here, and all you have to do is you type in the type of role that you're looking to fill. So for example, I'll type in, HVAC technician in Dallas, Texas with EPA Universal and, 2+ years of experience, for example, right? That's a, pretty common search that most contractors would be running. And so what's happening here on the back end is AI is analyzing this search and it's applying the corresponding filters here. So you can see like location, years of experience, certifications, keywords, et cetera, right? To pull the relevant candidates from our library of talent on the back end. So you can see like over 500 candidates coming up, which is amazing. They're all based in the broader Dallas area. And so what happens is if you click on a little tile here, I'll collapse this so you can get a little more room. You'll see a fully comprehensive profile of the candidate pop up. So contact info, summary, certifications and skills, work history. And then when the time is right, you can even download their resume as well once you text them through our platform. So everything that you need as a business owner, as a recruiter to determine if somebody's qualified and you want to reach out, you essentially have it at your fingertips, right? You just type in the search of what you're looking for and you'll have candidates that fit your criteria kind of right away. That's the goal, is to give folks that instant access to talent. So very straightforward from the search perspective. That's kind of part one of the demo. And again, I'll just click on another profile. You can see like this guy here, certifications and work history as well. And then as far as reaching out to candidates, it's very simple. You just click this little checkbox here and you can do it for as many candidates as you want. Most folks will do like 10 or 20 at a time. And then you just click send bulk text here. And we have every account get set up with a phone number. So it's all set up on the back end where it will send text messages on your behalf. And then you can send text messages either through a pre-made template, which is what, you can set these up in settings like details of the job. Hey, this is Bill from ServiceTitan Hacks. We have an open position. Here's the pay info. Here's the details. Let me know if you're interested, right? Typically something like that. Or you can do what we call a sequence, which is really effective. And everybody who uses Trade Runner loves the sequence portion. And these are automated text messages that go out. When you enroll a candidate in a sequence, they'll get sent this first text here. If they don't respond in 24 hours or whatever time frame you set, it'll send them this follow-up automatically. And then if they don't respond, it'll send them the follow-up again and so forth, right? So it's a really easy way to have personalized outreach to candidates without having to do anything as far as the follow-up. So that's kind of the the nuts and bolts of the platform here. And what I always tell people, just to summarize it, is like, we don't want you sitting around waiting for applications to come in. We want you to be proactive, and we want you to be able to contact talent instantly to fill your jobs quickly. So that's kind of the overview here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the big question is, where do you get this data from, right? Where do you source it?
Totally.
Fly houses and ask people for upload. I mean, where do you get this info?
It's a good question. Yeah, but we don't do the supply house method. It wouldn't be scalable enough for us. Yeah, we actually use about 15 different data sources to pull this candidate info. So something like Indeed and ZipRecruiter are just two of the sources that we use. And really what we're looking for, right, is any sort of verified resume that exists. We have resume databases that we work with, industry networks that we leverage. We have certain job boards that we pull from as well. So any sort of verified candidate profile that we can pull from one of those sources, we upload it into the system right on the back end. And then what's happening for the customer, from the customer perspective, is it's just a searchable library of talent, right? Mm-hmm. So we're essentially pulling these profiles from several disparate sources and centralizing it in one very simple platform, essentially.
So what kind of response do you usually get, from these candidates? Like, what do contractors see? So you said like a 50% response rate, things like that?
Yeah, we've been really surprised, I think, to the positive. Yeah. We actually did, when we first launched this, we didn't know how it would go. We didn't know if it would be, I think we're in our head, we were like, maybe it'll be like 15 to 20%. It's north of 50%. So I'd have to pull the exact numbers, but the response rates are right around 55%. Now, obviously, which is amazing. I think anybody who uses an Indeed or a ZipRecruiter, it's 5 to 6% probably. And obviously not every candidate that responds is, wanting to do an interview. Sometimes they respond and say, hey, thanks for reaching out. Not interested right now, which is totally fine. Mm-hmm. The majority of candidates who do respond, there's some sort of next step being taken, right? And so we've been really pleasantly surprised with the engagement. We didn't know what to expect when we initially launched, but yeah, call it 50 to 55% in terms of response rate.
Is there a place where I can manage it? You know what I mean? So yes. I can see everybody I've reached out to and then kind of move them down the pipeline.
Yeah, good question. That's kind of the last part of the demo here. So the way it works, and let me just, that's a good question for this second part of the demo here. So I'm going to send myself a little text message here. For everyone watching, this is like my own profile with my own phone number. And I'm going to enroll myself in a sequence here. I'll send myself a text message as if I were a candidate. And so I'll show you guys how that works really quick. So I just sent myself a sequence. You pop over to the outreach tab. It's just like managing conversations in any other platform. It's very straightforward. So you'll see, I just got this text on my phone just now. And then when the candidate responds, it pops back into the system and the user gets notified via email as well, right? So obviously we don't want you to have to be checking TradeRunner every 5 seconds to see if somebody responds. Once a candidate gets back to you, you'll get a notification via email. So I just sent a response back into the system just now. Give it a second and it'll populate here. And that's really it.
You can log into this and then kind of work your candidate pipeline from here. Is that exactly the process for it? Okay.
Yeah. Whatever next steps you want to take, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's a phone screen, whether that's an in-person interview, whatever that is, you can do. But really the goal of TradeRunner, right, is to provide that contact. We don't get involved in, if you want to do an in-person interview, that's stuff that you handle on your own. But we're providing essentially the method for you to kind of contact that candidate and get them in your process.
Okay. Then you have, so I know you do HVAC, plumbing. Are there any other trades that you're doing or that you thinking about adding? Anything like that?
We do HVAC and plumbing only right now. At some point, we'd love to add electrical because that's actually we've gotten some few requests for that. But yeah, it's strictly HVAC and plumbing. And within HVAC and plumbing right now, we're typically focused on more so field technicians and so field employees. So technicians, installers, comfort advisors, salespeople. We don't really do CSRs or dispatchers yet. That's been something that I'm requested to, but it's on the roadmap for sure. But any sort of service manager role or technician or installer is kind of where we focus now. Because those are typically the most urgent positions, right? You need a guy.
I've actually had a little bit more success hiring CSRs and office staff through a ZipRecruiter and Indeed and everything. It's really been the field guys that have it's just killed me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I think I read a study. It's like every day that a truck sits empty on your lot on average, I think it was like $8,000 to $10,000 in lost revenue. I'm not, obviously it varies, but it's a nightmare. Like that's ridiculous.
You don't get a bill for it, right? Like the lost revenue. So it's one of those things that's hidden. You just, as a business owner, you can feel it, I have all this opportunity. I have these jobs and I have to send somebody out that's not going to, that's going to bring back money and not ruin my reputation.
Yeah.
So it's always something. So now what about like the parts of, I saw one of the questions from Brandon, like, is this just the US or specific parts, or do you have Canada? I know that there's a lot of people that are on ServiceTitan from Australia. So it was like, where do you have these from?
Interesting. Yeah. So where we're focused now is just the US. It's the way we collect data. It can be applied to Canada and Australia. As of right now, just because we're kind of newer and we're very much like trying to go quickly, we're focused only on the US, but there's no restriction in terms of location, as long as it's within the US and it's within some sort of reasonably large metropolitan area, it's totally fine, right? The only situation I would call out where it gets difficult is if you're truly in like a very small city that's not next to any sort of metropolitan area. Yeah. Because the actual candidate pool, like just the universe of candidates we can pull from is super small. So that's the only thing to call out is from that regard. Yeah. No limitations otherwise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like we had a couple, it's funny. We had a customer, or I should say a prospect that was in a very small town in Texas. That's about 150 miles from the next decent sized town. And we're like, hey man, like there's not really a bunch we can do for you because I think there's only 5 HVAC techs in the whole town. So like,
so if somebody reaches out and you don't really have a large pool, do you just, will you let them know that and everything?
Yeah, we'll be upfront. I mean, we had because we were talking with them and they're like, we need to hire some techs and we just did some digging on the geography and we're like, look, man, I think there's literally less than 20 HVAC techs in your whole area. Like, so we're not going to sign you up just to give you that like experience. We're not, if we're going to sign you up, we have a good experience. So we'll just be transparent, say, hey, it's not a great fit. I wish you the best of luck on Indeed. And if you ever move to a bigger city, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you could come up with relocation packages and things like that, but I'm sure that, smaller cities, smaller pool of candidates, it's going to be a little bit more word of mouth there, right? Those big cities, you can get lost in it. Right.
And the relocation, to your point, it's something that we want to start, at some point. But if you're truly in a very small town, the relocation pitch to a candidate's pretty tough. Like, hey, move to this tiny town. Unless you're paying a really good salary, it's typically a tough sell from that standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, what do you think the best way for contractors? So let's say they get the platform and they're reaching out. Like, what should they do so it feels more human? Use those sequences or things like that, customize them, because I think I don't know, for me, it might feel a little awkward just to send a random message out to somebody that's, not specifically looking for a job.
Totally. No, and that's one thing we actually work with customers. So to answer your question, yes, a lot of it, a very important factor is how you frame the outreach, right? Because we all know that I think all of us probably get, spam texts on our phone and call. I mean, it happens to me every day. And so making sure you're able to cut through the noise based on the way that you do the outreach is really important. So the sequences are awesome because it provides follow-ups. And so you don't have to worry about that part. But what we do is we work with each customer during the onboarding session to set up their sequences, meaning like actually put together the text message that will be going out to the candidates. Typically, and we have some historical data on like which templates work best. So it's typically like a very short intro. Hey, this is Andre from Trade Runner. We have an open technician job. Saw your resume. It caught my eye and you look like you might be qualified. You give a short description of the job and then maybe a number to call you back. That's typically a format that's very well received. And I think because we've had customers that have that concern, right? Like, hey, I'm worried that if I send out these text messages, they're just going to get thought of as spam and nobody's going to respond. But what we've found is when you do frame it the right way and you frame it concisely, it's actually very well received. So it kind of is, you're able to cut through the noise just based on how you actually frame the outreach.
Yeah, it's almost like the feeling of cold calling, not sure what to say, don't want the rejection and things like that. But if you don't put yourself out there and let them know that you're hiring, then you're not going to get a shot. Yeah.
That's what I always say, because we've had a couple times it's been brought up like, hey, I'm just worried that if we send out these texts, nobody's going to respond. They'll think it's spam. I'm like, well, you don't get any responses now anyway. So like,
Yeah. Right.
there's no harm in sending it out. And even if you get 2 responses, which you'll get more than that, but even if you get 2, it's better than the 0 you have today. Right. And so it's almost like the concern of people not responding is silly to me, because it's always coming from somebody who's needing to hire somebody and getting no applications today, or no good candidates today. Right.
Yeah. That makes sense. Can they like opt out, you know?
Yeah, so we have it's fully compliant with all the privacy laws and everything. If they just reply stop, it'll take them out of the sequence, and it'll also block them from being sent any future messages as well. So it's all the candidates they have the ability to opt out. Since we've started, we've probably sent, I don't know how many thousands of text messages through the platform. We've had 1 candidate say opt out. So it's pretty, typically folks are, they are willing to entertain new opportunities, or, at least put themselves in a position to have future opportunities come to them. But I guess this one guy just really didn't want to get any more text messages. I don't know, but it's typically well received.
I wonder, so I've talked to some techs. My brother is a tech, and talked to some other ones. And I think technicians might be a little bit nervous to put their resumes out and start applying for jobs for fear that their current employer will see that. I mean, is this something that they, that the technicians would be worried about, or anything like that? Like, is there some privacy to it? I mean, how do they make sure they don't reach out without messing up their current position?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. So the candidate never sees Trade Runner. That's like the big call out, is this is a contractor facing platform, right? It's a contractor facing tool. So if we've been able to pull their resume from one source or another, whether it was a resume database or an industry network or a job board or whatever, it's not like they submitted it to Trade Runner. So they, like, when you're reaching out to a candidate, the candidate thinks like you're just reaching out directly as the contractor. They don't even know Trade Runner is being used, if that makes sense. Trade Runner is just an outreach tool, but as far as the text they're seeing on their phone, it's like, hey, this is Bill from Joe's Plumbing. And so it's not, there's nowhere in the process at all. Do they see a Trade Runner? Do they know a Trade Runner? We've simply just gathered their information from a source, put it into ours for the contractor to use to reach out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's
I think that any contractor on this call understands the problem that we have. Not to get off on too much of a tangent, but if you go and you read like ACHR news articles from like the 90s, same problem.
Yeah.
Can't find good technicians, and you have to grow them in-house. But this could be really cool if it works and it gets in some experienced guys that are at other shops, Yeah.
And that's what we've seen is like, we have all these new tools flooding into the trades, sales coaching tools, dispatch, all this stuff, but nobody has really actually solved the core problem, which is the people, like the recruiting aspect of it.
Yeah.
So that's obviously our goal, just based on what I've shown you today. But it's interesting to me that you have all these new tools flooding the marketplace, and most of them are great. Like, these are awesome solutions, but none of this works if you don't have people. That's it. Right.
Yeah. Like, it all comes down to the people. I mean, love the AI and automation and everything, but at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to the people. And these are just tools to help them. I think this is probably something that before AI, it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, for you guys to aggregate this stuff, man.
Yeah. And we have a little bit of secret sauce on the on the back end. We use it as
some nerds on the back end. Do you do the back end stuff, or you got some super?
I wish I was one of those nerds who could put together a cool product. But we have a couple cool guys on the tech team that help us out. And most of the time when they talk, it feels like they're not even speaking English, so I don't really understand half of what they're saying. But they operate at a different speed than the rest of us mere mortals here. So
a lot of times they're really young guys too, right? It's wild. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool, man. So I think it's pretty straightforward, So I know that all the guys watching this webinar today are probably pretty busy, so we'll wrap it up unless anybody has any specific questions. You want to throw them in the chat? We'll try to answer them for you.
I'm just scanning the chat here. I see one just from a little while ago that was just, is there a way to dismiss a profile so it doesn't show up in future searches? Yes, there is. We have a very simple setting. If you click on a candidate profile and you don't want them to come up, there's like a don't contact button. So
yeah,
we've taken that into account there.
Do you guys have any like specials or anything like for ServiceTitan Hacks members? Anything, any kind of deals, man?
We do, man. We're gonna hook you up here. Yeah, we have we'll do 20% off for the first 3 months for anybody that is referred to us through ServiceTitan Hacks. And actually, a good way to get just a demo scheduled is if you pop to our website. Obviously, we're gonna we'll send a follow up after this, but with our website, we have a demo link on the website. We have a little bit of it's basically a wait list. So if you enter, all you got to do is enter your name and email. It'll show up on our end, and then we'll reach out to get a demo scheduled in the coming weeks here.
So I'll send that information to everybody who was on the webinar, everybody that registered, and then they can reach out to you and see if they feel it's a good fit.
That sounds good, man. Looking forward to getting some stuff rolling and really enjoy this conversation, man.
Yeah, well, have a good one. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks.